Listen, no Tyler Perry slander will be tolerated. He did his big one with Straw. I don't care what nobody say. But I ain't gonna hold you. Them first 15, 20 minutes had me concerned. Let's talk about it. So Straw is about a black woman named Janiyah who is played by Taraji P. Henson. And baby, she goes through everything, okay? Janiyah is sick and tired of being sick and tired. The woman is just weary, worn, tired. And it's so interesting that the cover of the film and a portion of this film, a scene from this film, is Taraji, aka Janiyah, getting out of bed and just sitting on the edge, head bowed, reflecting a black woman's journey of being just tired. And it's very reminiscent and somewhat of an ode to this famous black painting that many people, especially black mamas and grandmamas, had in a house, and some still have in a house to this day. A black woman on the edge of the bed, just tired. So Janiyah is the mother of a young daughter who is very, very sickly. She has seizures. We get a scan of the room when Janiyah first wakes up, and we get to see that they living off of noodles. So we know that they, no shade, but living off of ramen noodles. We know that you're financially struggling. I know some people eat packed ramen for fun, but baby, we know the ramen noodles are a sign of struggle, okay? But she's bathing her sickly daughter in the bath, getting her ready for school, and the daughter says, Mama, they said you got to give me $40 for lunch. The teacher told me that in front of all the people because they can't keep giving me the free lunch no more. Now, if you grew up poor, you know that you had to pay for lunch if you didn't get the free lunch for some reason, or if you was waiting for the free lunch program to kick in, you had to pay for lunch. And if you ain't had the money to pay for lunch, you get the poor kids lunch, which is the free lunch when you ain't on the program, and they will give you just that plain peanut butter sandwich, no jelly, and a carton of milk. You ain't even get a side. You got a peanut butter sandwich, no jelly, and a carton of milk. Janiyah baby said, Mama, they said they can't give me no more of that. You got to give me $40 for lunch. So now we realize that she's already dealing with the effects of poverty, right? So that's how we're introduced to Janiyah, poor and tired. Baby, Janiyah walks out the door to take her daughter to school, and she's greeted by Sinbad, who lives in her neighborhood. Shout out to Tyler Perry for always putting his elders on. One thing about Tyler, he's gonna make sure that black elders in Hollywood keep a job and keep a coin in their pocket. He did it with Cicely Tyson, he did it with Maya Angelou, and he's doing it with Sinbad, and he's done it with many, many others. Shout out to Tyler for that. That's what we call honoring your elders and putting your people on of all ages. So I love that. But anyway, Janiyah runs into Sinbad character. She offers him some money. Her landlord sees that she done gave this man some money, and she's like, well, since you got so much money, where's my rent money? If you don't give my rent by the end of the day, I'm gonna put you out. So now even more effects of poverty, Janiyah is being faced with eviction. Then Janiyah goes to drop her daughter off at school. After she drops her daughter off at school, then she goes to work where she works at a grocery store. Baby, Glenn Turner, shout out to the great elder Glenn Turner, is her manager, okay? And once again, Tyler Perry putting the elders on. Glenn Turner is her manager, and the manager is just mean. He's talking to her crazy because she's running late. The store is in chaos. It's a whole line of people. She's ringing up a woman. The woman is trying to pay for regular groceries with WIC. And again, if you grew up in poverty, you know that there's only certain things you could buy with WIC. You got to have a certain brand, a certain amount of ounces. You can't just buy whatever you want to buy with WIC. So she tells the woman, ma'am, you can't pay for some of these things with WIC. The woman gets mad, cusses her out. The woman's boyfriend throws a bottle at her feet, all kind of stuff. She gets dismissed to the back to go clean up the mess. And while she's in the back, she gets a phone call from her daughter's school. Now, it's important to recognize that her homegirl came to the back to check on her before she got the phone call, and she offered her some money. This is a constant theme throughout the movie. This was the start of sisters looking out for sisters, right? Because Taraji already has faced classism. She done faced eviction. She done faced getting cussed out by the manager, all kind of stuff, a bottle thrown at her. We in the first 10 minutes of the movie now, okay? But her homegirl said, sis, I see you and I got you. And she offered her a little financial blessing. Taraji gets a phone call And I'm doing this for a reason. She gets a phone call from her daughter's school saying that you got to bring this $40 and some other stuff, right? So she tells her mean manager she needs to go. He's already mad. He said, you got 30 minutes. 30 minutes to go drop the money off and come back, or else. She goes straight to the bank to try to get her last $40. They wouldn't give it to her because they said it's going to forcefully close your account. She tries to run up to the school to talk to the people. When she gets to the school, they try to take custody of her daughter. Now she got to deal with the folks trying to snatch custody of her daughter. She's crying, she's panicking. She's leaving to try to get back to work, because if she don't go back to work, she's going to lose her job. On her way back to work, she deals with racism. She got a crazy cop that tries to run her off the road. He gets out, threatens to unalive her, all kind of crazy stuff, right? So she done dealt with racism. She done dealt with classism. She's dealing with sexism because these men is treating her crazy and talking to her crazy and not giving her equal opportunity. It's crazy. And this is within the first 15 minutes. And this when I said, Tyler, how much can one person go through in a day? Tyler, what do we Tyler, don't prove these people right, that you done got this black woman going through all this trauma. Where are we going, Tyler? Where are we going? But baby, he went somewhere. She finally makes it back to work from a 30-minute break that actually took her 2 hours because the sister done had to argue about custody for her daughter. She had to beg the bank for the last $40 and she done got run off the road by the police. Okay, so she done had all kind of things happen. So it took her 2 hours instead of 30 minutes. The manager fires her and refuses to give her her last check. She done been through it all. Now we about 20 minutes into the movie. At the 20th minute, she leaves after getting fired. She goes back home and she's evicted. She's evicted. Okay, so from the time she woke up to the time that we at the 20th minute of the movie, sister done dealt with all the classism and it got threatened for eviction. She done got cussed out and a bottle thrown at her. She done got her custody of her daughter taken away. She done got ran off the road by the police. She done actually got evicted, all within the first 20 minutes. And once again, I said, Tyler, what are we doing? Where are we going? But he went somewhere. After seeing the eviction, Janiyah said, look, I got to go back and get this check because now me and my baby need a place to stay. I don't know what I still need this $40. I need to go back and get my last check. She goes back to the job to try to get her last check. These two guys come in to now rob the job. Janiyah don't know them. But what happened was Janiyah ended up battling the man for the pew. Okay, she gets the pew, then she turns around and she pews the robber. He drops, his robbing friend runs. Now the manager thinks she in on it because the robber has said Janiyah's name, but her name was on a name tag. She said, I wasn't in, I didn't set this up, the name on the name tag. If I set this up, why would I have pewed him? Look, he on the ground. I didn't do this. The manager didn't believe it. He's threatening to call the police, all kind of stuff. He thinking that she done set it up. She said, you know what? I can't go to jail. Boom. She pews the manager and unalives him. Baby, Janiyah now takes her last check with the residue of the unaliving on it to the bank for it to be cash, because her main focus is, I need to get this $40 to take it to my baby's school or they gonna take custody of my baby. So give me the $40, cash this check. She goes to the bank where Sherry Shepherd's character works, and Sherry Shepherd's character has been kind to her the whole time and loving. Once again, a sister seeing a sister. Now, when Janiyah get to the bank, mean Tessa is working the counter, and Tessa don't want to cash her check. But Janiyah said, I need this money. And she pulls out her pew and put it on the counter. She's put the blick on the counter. On the counter. Cash this check. They hit the button that the bank is getting robbed, the little security alert. The police call Sherry Shepherd, who's the bank manager's phone, and she's like, I know her. I can't believe she's doing this. And that's when the robbery hostage situation occurs. And then the next hour plus of the movie is Janiyah holding this bank hostage. Now, in her backpack, she has her daughter's science project, but it's blinking a red light, so you know what they thought it was. Kaboom! That's what they thought it was. Now, there's a hostage standoff with Janiyah, who actually has a pew, but she has what they think is a kaboom in her backpack. And the police is outside. You got the bank tellers. You got the bank manager, played by Sherry Shepherd. And it's a hostage situation. Now, negotiating this hostage situation for the police's side, you got the bot gal, Teyana Taylor. Now, what I love so much is because this is when we really get into the spirituality of the film, because the historical trauma that a lot of Black women have had to deal with is reflected in the film within the first 20 minutes. But this hour plus that's left in this film of this hostage situation, you get to see how Black women have survived. And usually it's through community, it's through sister circles, it's through having other sisters see and recognize, support, and help other sisters. And that's what was happening all throughout this film. From her friend in the grocery store who handed her that little love offering, to Sherry Shepherd, who said, come on, baby, come in this bank and get your check cash. I'm gonna look out for you. And all throughout the film, Sherry Shepherd's character was really supporting Janiyah and loving her. To Teyana Taylor's character, who is the negotiating officer, who is really taking the time to love and support Janiyah, listen to her story, listen to her needs, study her, right? She's keeping the very anxious other male officers who want to just go in and run in and pew Janiyah to get the situation over. She's keeping them at bay and giving this sister time to just breathe and share her story and live. And then one of the bank tellers, Tessa is the testament of the sisters like her, where all skin folk ain't your kinfolk, all sisters ain't your sister, okay? Tessa was the bank teller who was just aggravating. She was the bank teller who had no grace, but you had a good elder to check her. See, what I love about a Tyler Perry film is he's always going to have a good elder with the lessons. He's always going to have the adversary character. He's always going to bring up some trauma, but make you question what the root of this trauma was. Like I said, Janiyah was dealing with all of the isms. She's dealing with classism, with racism, with ism. She's dealing with all of the isms, and she is suffering, and she's sick and tired of being sick and tired, and she has reached a breaking point. And that's what we are seeing with this hostage situation. Another teller who had much more empathy for Janiyah went live, and Janiyah was on the phone with the officer, the negotiating officer, and she starts telling her story, how her day started. And when people who are watching this live all around the community on the news, everybody's watching it from their phones and stuff, they hear her story, everybody starts having a lot of empathy for Janiyah, and the entire community comes outside of the bank and they are protesting and rooting for Janiyah, because they know the Black woman's story. A lot of people come from this story, and I know many of you might have seen the beginning of this film and been like, how realistic is it for one person to go through all of this? But as Malcolm X once said, the most disrespected person in this world is the Black woman. This story, this day in the life, is very realistic for many sisters to have to encounter all of the isms. It may not look like that, but dealing with all of the isms in one day is a very realistic story for many sisters. And I love that Tyler put this out there and made this a part of the conversation. But baby, there's more to the conversation. Remember, Janiyah's entire motivation was that she needed this $40 to go take to the school so that she can be able to take care of her daughter and make sure her daughter was good. Remember, Janiyah's daughter was sick. The movie opened up with this flashback of Janiyah carrying her daughter out the hospital. The hostage negotiator had Janiyah's mom call her just to try to talk some sense into Janiyah. And that's when we find out, because Janiyah's telling her mom, Mom, I didn't rob the store. I'm not trying to rob the bank. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just trying to get the $40 so I could take to my baby's school. And Janiyah's mom says, your baby didn't make it. Your baby had a seizure last night. We took her to the hospital and she didn't make it. Janiyah, your baby is unalived. She didn't make it. And that is when we realize that this entire day, Janiyah has been in psychosis. Now, many people may not be familiar with psychosis, but baby, it is a real mental disorder that happens when a person loses touch with reality. And usually their new reality is their fantasy world that they have created. When Janiyah's daughter didn't make it after that seizure the night before, she went into psychosis. So she's walking out the hospital with a baby blanket, thinking that her baby, her child, is in the blanket, like she's leaving the hospital with her. She created this fantasy that her child was alive, and she was not. She made dinner. We see 2 bowls of noodle, one eaten, that was Janiyah's bowl, and one not touched because her child is not there. But in her mind, she thinks she is. We see the baby's headphones in the bed next to Janiyah because in her mind, her baby is sleeping next to her. There is no baby living. The baby is not there. So we get to see, even when she's leaving the house to take the baby to school, she's turning around like she's telling her daughter to hurry up. There's nobody there. She's dropping the baby off at school. There was no baby getting out the car. There was no child because her child did not make it. She created this fantasy world that became her reality. She was in psychosis, and psychosis can be caused by many things, like a traumatic event. This is called grief psychosis. At first, I mistook what was happening, and I thought she was in postpartum psychosis. I thought the baby never lived. I was like, did the baby pass when she was young, like a little baby? Like, what happened? Postpartum psychosis happens usually after a stillbirth or a miscarriage. She was in grief psychosis because she lost an older child, someone she loved. Somebody can go into grief psychosis after losing a parent, after losing a spouse, where they will act like this person is still living. You have spiritual psychosis, religious psychosis. You have substance-induced psychosis. I couldn't think of a name for it, right? But you have substance-induced psychosis. There's many different types of psychosis. Anything can trigger a person creating a false fantasy world and thinking that is reality and losing touch with actual reality. That is psychosis. And I love that Tyler brought this to life. I don't even think that this has become a conversation from a film ever that I could recall, but I might be wrong. Y'all name some if y'all know some films that are about psychosis. But this was brilliant. The movie ends with Sherry Shepherd, a sister who saw her and supported her the entire time, grabbing her hand and walking her out that bank and saying, it's time to surrender. And I thought that was the overall lesson of the movie, the importance of just surrendering, right? In life, many people are this woman, are tired. They're tired of dealing with all of the isms. They're tired of the system working against them. They're tired of fighting. So some people will create these false fantasy worlds because they need to escape reality, and they will do that in many ways. But baby, it's okay to just surrender and allow yourself to feel the grief, to feel the feelings, but then move forward in wellness. And another major theme in this film was the importance of community. I love the fact that the name of the bank was benevolence. And to be benevolent is to be organized for the purpose of doing good. And although this crazy hostage situation happened, it triggered the community to come together to organize for the purpose of doing good. You had Tiana Taylor, the officer, negotiating and really keeping the evil at bay. You had the community coming together and protesting and acknowledging the pain and trauma that that sister had to deal with and saying, protect these kids, and having the beautiful signs. You also had Sherry Shepherd's character, the bank manager, supporting her and loving her and putting her own life at risk by walking out there with her. Baby, there was just a whole lot of doing good happening. I love the benevolence. In the words of the great Maya Angelou, nobody but nobody can make it out here alone. Community is so important. Having a tribe is so important. Be intentional about seeing somebody. Baby, this was easily one of Tyler Perry's best movies. And I'm a Tyler fan, honey. For Colored Girls, Why Did I Get Married? Why Did I Get Married To? Well, all of the things. I'm a fan of Tyler Perry. I feel like he does a great job of opening up some really important conversations. But this one to me opened up many different conversations. It talks about dealing with the isms. It talks about the black woman being the most disrespected, in the words of Malcolm X. It talks about how a lot of black women cope and survive through having sister circles. It talks about the importance of giving grace and love, seeing a person, right? Having true empathy. And a challenge that I feel like this film really leaves people with is what I like to call the empath check. Are you really an empath? Because it's easy to have basic human empathy with somebody who is crying and you start crying. Somebody's laughing and you feel joy. But do you have empathy even when you disagree with the person's actions? Even when a person is a villain, do you still have empathy for them? That was the question that the elder posed to Tessa in the bank. Tessa, who was being hard on Janiyah, she was like, do you not have empathy? You don't have to agree with what she's doing, but can you not feel her? Now, I challenge you. Do you have empathy for any of the other characters outside of Janiyah? Because even with the manager, played by Glenn Turner, he's dealing with the isms too, right? He's a black man who's this manager at the grocery store. He's running a tight ship, but he's just trying to survive too. The landlord who evicted her because she needed her money, she's running a tight ship, but she's likely just trying to survive too. Everybody in that situation is just trying to survive. So do you still feel empathy even when you disagree with the actions of a person? I disagree, but I understand. That is the goal. Again, I truly feel like this is easily one of Tyler Perry's best films. The conversation about Psychosis alone really made this one stand out, in my opinion. Please go educate yourself on Psychosis and really study it, because you may see some warning signs within people you love. And once again, Psychosis can be triggered by many things, but it looks similar because of the disconnection from reality, right? So false things appearing real, essentially, right? You really will see the signs quickly if you are paying attention. Study Psychosis and you be the person who sees the light and acknowledges the love in other people, because really in this film, Janiyah just needed to be seen. And thankfully it was her sisters who saw her. Who do you see?